Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. I'm Nicholas Sacco, your host for this very special episode. Episode 32 of Season 5, episode 145. If you're counting from the beginning, it will not get better than this. We've done it. 16 flags. Finally, we had it in our grasp on Saturday. We're defeating the Brisbane by 4 points at the MCG. And now, for the next 6 months, we can just sit back and enjoy. And I hope you guys can enjoy what's going to be already labelled as our best episode ever on the Pies Nation podcast, because I've got three other gentlemen right here who are about to unwind and look back on what was the best day of all our lives. I think we can all agree on. Jack Dugan, Luke Humphries, Marcus Callahan. Boys, I don't have much else to say in terms of an intro. We're just going to jump right into things because even special is probably an understatement as to how incredible Saturday turned out to be. From the moment we all wake up to the early hours of the following morning when we finally decided to call it a night, it was just the most extraordinary game of football, and fortunately we were on the better end of it. Boys, how are we all feeling Monday afternoon after Saturday?
Nico, Lukey, Jack, boys, honestly, we weren't out there on the park, but we may as well have been as four knuckleheads who have a microphone and have the joy of doing this podcast week in, week out, whether it's a win, loss or draw. This means everything, and I speak on behalf of all, however many of the Magpie Army that got to bear witness to one of the all-time grand finals, and obviously recency bias plays into those sentiments, but other than the fact we almost kicked ourselves out of it, gentlemen, it was scintillating footy. And I think all four of us getting to be there, and I hope as many of the Pies Nation faithful also got to see it up close and personal, but if not on the TV, this means everything, Jacko, and what a time.
Oh, what a moment in time in all our lives, Marcus. You've summed it up beautifully there. I think, speaking a little bit off there, Nico, just at the pub before with Marcus and Luke about, I've dreamt of this day my whole life, at least since I was, mindful of what footy was and being invested in it, and what this day would potentially look like, what this pod would potentially look like over the past 2 years, and to be there living it on Saturday with three very special people of close to me, and then to now be living it with you boys and living it with the whole Magpie Army. What a special, special day. Had so many Collingwood connotations about it for the first three quarters, almost kicking ourselves out of it in the third quarter. And albeit it should be said that low percentage shots, Bruzzy from 65 out on the boundary, Ginnivan from the impossible angle, and Coxie, with a half chance right on the goal line, and then Pendles of all people to steady the ship. And, we only kicked 3 goals after half time, and Pendles, Sidebottom, DeGoey, what 3 Collingwood names that'll be etched in Collingwood history forever. And that I cannot thank the Collingwood, not just the 23 players and the coaching staff, but just I cannot thank the Collingwood Football Club enough for giving this to us and giving out this moment to us, Lukey.
Flag Pies, best day of my life Saturday. It was incredible, and me and Nico sat together like we rode every bump with each other. It was, and the despair we were almost in at certain points in the game. It was like, please don't do this to us again, and like the emotions running through. And I don't think I'll ever experience that last minute or so towards the end.
We're probably the most unruly MCC members ever had.
And then the 10 minutes that followed, like it was just shaking, goosebumps, like trying to soak it all in as much as possible. And then looking out there and going, is this real life? Like we're not the oldest of supporters, but God, we've been through it over our just, short journey. It meant so much to finally get there and, to be able to enjoy it with you, but I've seen you boys over the course of the night and and then just absolute randoms. And then I go to the AIS Centre and people are Pies Nation and just hugging like absolutely randoms and talking about our days and our journeys as Collingwood supporters. We ask it on the Guess the Crowd, but it's the thing we love, like hearing how everyone has gone from being a Collingwood supporter to how we all end up in the same place at the same time on Saturday and win our 16th flag. So it was the best day of my life, best night of my life, and I'm gonna savour this and lap it up as long as possible because they don't come around often. So enjoy it, boys. We're flag boys.
And just quickly, Mr. Host,
Yes.
your emotions, feelings right now.
Well,
How are you
I
going?
mean, Luke can be. He was first hand watching me, but
It was actually our first time sitting with each other at a game. So it was,
if anyone, it was look, a lot went through my mind. I think only in the last 10 seconds would I ever be able to feel comfortable, and then that's when the ball was in our area we were watching it from, and then just pandemonium afterwards. I mean, last week against GWS, it was a state of shock because you think, wow, we actually got through point. Don't know how we got through and we were able to get there, but I don't know. Speechless was the first thought, but then you're just hugging anyone and everyone, high fives all around. You get a bit teary, you get a bit emotional. Luke was going with that for about 10 minutes before the game finished. He was crying his eyes out, but look, it was special. That's all I can think about it being, and I'm just grateful that I was actually there. I know there were a lot of supporters that really couldn't get there, that would have done anything to be in those seats or standing or on the scoreboard. I don't know, whatever they would have taken to get there. So I'm very privileged to have been one of those 100,000 that was able to actually be at the game. And it's a moment that I'll never forget, and one that will rank always as one of the best ever. But very emotional, very crazy. Everything about the day was just falling into place, really. And then, siren goes and you just in total disbelief. But for me, it was a win that sort of took a lot of monkeys off our back. We finally won another flag in September. We finally have 16 premierships.
1,600 wins.
1,600 wins. We finally won a close grand final. It hasn't happened in over 100 years, and we finally were able to push that off. So there's nothing else these stupid supporters or other teams can come back with now. It's ours, and they can't
bring
take
it on,
away from
Nico.
us.
The more, the
It's
better.
so funny, isn't it? It's
The
so
more,
funny.
the better.
But it's about us, and I don't care about them. So
and speaking of monkeys off the back, we just before at the pub, we were speaking about in terms of Nick Dacos, his second year, he's got a premiership already, so that's a monkey off the back. Darcy Moore, first year as captain, that's a monkey off the back. But you look at stories from all the guys who played through 2018 and experienced the heartache, the Geordie DeGoes, Jack Crisp, Mason Coxes, they finally got to taste what it's like to be a premiership player. And then you go back to the 2010 Steel Sidebottom, Scott Pendlebury, and they got to enjoy 2010, but they were young guys at the time. So were they as grateful and did they experience it as much as they could, thinking maybe it just always happens, And I think we were speaking about Pendles on this final siren, and
Come on, Siri.
and said, I honestly don't think it meant more to anyone.
he was the most animated we've ever seen
Scott
him, really.
Pendlebury. He has been through it all, and I look at as us as supporters, I've probably been along the ride with Scott Pendlebury his whole career. As I'm 25 now, he started 2006, so I was 8 years old. So pretty much from the time Pendle started, I've been a Collingwood supporter. So he's been my favourite player that whole time, and I've literally got a dog named after him. So
yes, I'm sure Pendles was up and about at home.
She was very happy. But yeah, it meant so much to him. And I think for us being in that age group that we are, it meant so much to us that we've rode every bump along that journey with him. And we actually said he wasn't captain in 2010, we won, and he's 1 year out of captaincy and we've won it again. But I don't think it matters to him because he's now a two-time premiership player. Honestly, that last quarter as well is one of the greatest last quarters of all time. And when Sidey and him held the premiership cup in the stand. If they retire now, if they retired today, I couldn't care less. They have had incredible careers, and I'm happy for them. I think they'll go on again, but I'm content now. I'm content.
Yeah. There were many moments on Saturday, Nico, where the emotion overtakes you and tears come out and whatnot. And I think one of the moments I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, and I was very lucky that my partner Chantal was able to take a photograph of it, was when Steele and Pendles get up in front of the Collingwood Army with the Premiership Cup, and I'll never ever forget seeing the shine of the cup and then seeing the gold on the inside of it. Just little intricacies of this, and that was I think the moment where it really hit me deep inside that holy shit, we've done this thing, like we've won it. And seeing those two boys, like the nostalgia of that and all of that, just absolutely huge. Two blokes I've spent literally my whole, as Luke just touched on there, my whole Collingwood supporter time growing up, watching them play, my idols the whole time, and to see them, so like they've got the record of the longest spell between their first premiership and their last premiership.
300
club, everything like that. It is an unbelievable effort, and I'm happy for everyone, of course, but you couldn't be more happy or prouder than those two boys.
And what incredible goals they both kicked in that second half. Pendles, when we were really getting frustrated about all those behinds, just stood up when we needed. I remember Lukey Mai, he's a horrible set shot kicker though. I'm so nervous, but the one person we could at the same time rely on to go back and nail it, and he absolutely did. And then Steele, who knew that he had that in him? It was just extraordinary.
If you go and listen to all the commentaries for that Steele goal, every single one,
he
there's
won't
someone
kick
that
it.
says, if not all of them, that say he hasn't got the leg, he's going to pass this off. Watch for Cox at the front of the goal square. Watch for Bobby Hill crumbing. There's no way he's going to kick this. And if you got 10 minutes, I know we all got 10 minutes to enjoy Collingwood highlights, but go listen and watch the commentary for that goal, because it is as good as a Collingwood supporter. Just all of them, especially guys like Nathan Brown, who hates Collingwood. He's like, no way he's got the trip. Nah. And he goes back and he kicks it into the grandstand as well. He hasn't just got it over the line, it's into the grandstand.
Easily.
Yeah, one of the greatest Collingwood moments of all time.
Liam said to me as soon I turned to him after by the way, what a silly 50-metre penalty to give away from Jared Berry. Who had
Long
an
off season for Berry.
Absolute stinker on the
he
day.
gave away.
Long off season.
We've conversely, when you look at someone like Bobby Hill, who at the moment of grand final day absolutely elevated him, someone like Berry, I think will be, as Marcus said, he'll be thinking that for a long, long time. But I thought of Nico and Liam when Liam turned to me and said, of all the people that could be having this shot right now, it's still Sobel, and there's no way he'll kick this. And then the reason why I thought of you, mate, is because I was looking in the forward 50 for a Cox, for a Cameron, for somebody to present towards the ball character, and no one was moving. So Steele was almost left with no other choice but to just have an absolute pot shot and to run around and kick that. Oh, what a moment.
Yeah.
Boys, some are calling it the Sealer. I'm calling it the Stealer.
Oh, the Steeler.
Leg of steel.
Rusty, not.
Right. No, yeah.
Collingwood folklore, absolutely. And I think just spending a moment starting with respecting your elders in Steele and Pendles. I mean, we talked about it after the prelim. Certainly Pendles, we knew he was going to wind back the clock and really produce a performance for the ages, but they were both just so solid. And I really felt that despite our margin, probably should have been 4 goals, not 4 points, having those guys in your team, that's something Brisbane did not have, in my opinion. 2 blokes who are tried and tested, so experienced, and they were just able to steady the ship when we needed Nico.
Well, they're 2 players in that regard, you could say, were Gunson and Rich, and they both didn't end up playing. So
minus the flags.
Their loss is our gain, absolutely.
Except Gunson, sorry.
Of course. Do I dare ask a pie that caught your eye? Because I don't reckon I could pick just one, but I'm going to get you guys a crack at doing so. I'll start with you, Jackie boy. Who have you leant towards?
Yeah, I did prepare that despite no run sheets. Nico.
Of course, it's the one constant.
Will Hoskin-Elliott is the
Is
that
that
caught
right?
my eye. And it's a funny one because it's not one that caught my eye initially on the day.
Chantal will be wrapped with this.
Yes, we'll get to that. Don't you worry.
He didn't kick a goal, did he? So.
Oh no,
tattoos?
We've marked out a spot. It's the tattoo. Get the tattoo gun ready. So there's a moment, I can't remember if it's Zach Bailey's. I watched the replay sort of last night and a little bit again today. I think it's Zach Bailey's first goal or Zach Bailey's one that they're calling one of the grand final goals of the century.
Which shouldn't have happened.
It's an absolute farce. Like, come on. Have you watched DeGoey's goal from the exact same spot? Luke Holt, 2015.
Shouldn't have even happened because it shouldn't have been.
Was in
Anyway,
the protected area.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Give me a spell. And at the moment he kicks it, of all people, he goes up and absolutely rips into Hoskin-Elliott. And I remember watching the replay, and Wilbur's reaction just looked him dead in the eye and started pissing himself laughing. And I was like, it sums up the way we went about the day. And in the face of adversity, in the face of every time Brisbane came up to us, we were just resolute, Craig McRae. We managed the moments. We didn't look too far into the future. We didn't dwell on the past. We were just in the moment, and we were Hoskin Elliott to. I know it's just such a strange thing, and he had a reasonably solid game, and I'm so happy as a Collingwood supporter that he's a Collingwood supporter that now can go live out his dream. I think they said 110 years on from his great grandfather, who also got to achieve the same goal with one of Collingwood's yesteryear premiership teams, but. To see Will, of all people, just cop an absolute beating from Zach Bailey, who's trying to pump up his team, and just to look him dead in the eye and piss himself laughing, I was like, good on you, mate. Like, what a way to react to something like that.
Played an important role in the back line once Murph went off as well.
Yes.
So it was great that he was able to come out of it as a premiership player. What about you, Lukey?
I'm going to go Jordan De Goey.
Okay.
Now, I thought he actually was. He was the highest rated player on the ground. Sorry. In terms of the player ratings, I think it was 23.2 or something like that. He didn't absolutely tear the game apart like he did last week, but there were occasions where he tried to bullock his way through, but I think Brisbane were trying to really get on top of him. But his 2 goals, the one in the end of the first quarter, and we seen what he said pre-game in terms of what 2018 did to him, and obviously he's been through a fair bit since then, and how he was going to do everything in his power to come out and absolutely tear this one apart. So I guess he did play a very good game still, but it wasn't his, tear it
35
apart.
and 4.
Yeah, but first quarter, he gets that mark right on just before the quarter time siren, and not once does he look anywhere for a pass off. He's having the set shot straight away, and he's about 55 out. I'm like, Jesus, how's he going to kick this? Siren goes, and he goes back and absolutely drills it. And then that fourth quarter goal, which I think I was saying to you boys, that for me, watching that today, I watched it about 10 times with all the different commentaries and the analysts behind it, how Collingwood, Nick and Geordie run in straight lines, and there was and also the fact that they got the 666 call, and all of a sudden it's going to be a throw up, not a bounce, so they know that they're going to get the ball up. There's not going to be a bounce that goes that way or that way. It's going to be a ball up that goes straight up. So then Cox is almost in the position of knowing he's going to win the tap and be able to do what he wants with it. So we do that. Nick was fantastic in that bit. And speaking on Nick, he misses that tackle on Berry, which leads to the Brisbane getting that goal. And he spoke about it, I think, on Sunday. Like, he knew he had to impact that next contest straight away. So he does that, does his job. So he gets that handball out. Pendles kicks it. And then again, Nick is at the fall of the ball with the punch off, quick hands, and De Goey. His moment. And we've said so many times he's so close to clinching that moment, and he'll miss it, spray it, kick it out in the full. He's so close to being that A-grade superstar that we've asked for ever since he got drafted. And this was his moment. And for me, and we said it last week on the pod, if he comes out and delivers on grand final day, that's it. He can do whatever he wants now. I'm content with him now. He's repaid the faith. He won us the premiership, so I'm happy with Geordie. And that goal, for me, will sit alongside some of the greatest Collingwood moments in history. Yeah,
for me, it was the goal of the grand final, no doubt about it. Can I ask, do you reckon Jordan De Goey's got the greatest compilation of finals goals we've ever seen? Ooh. You had the 3 that he kicked in the 2018 grand final, his prelim goals, his finals goals against West Coast in that 2020 match. I reckon he's right up there with your Dacoses and Didaks in terms of those bringing those highlights together.
They're all very similar, aren't they? From that 50-metre bomb, half a chance, sort of, 55 out on that 45-degree angle. And, yeah, he's an absolute freak. Powerful athlete. And as Luke just touched on, the growth of him is not only as a player but as a person, I think, over the past 12 to 18 months shouldn't go unnoticed. And yeah, we're going to get emotional again, but the scenes in the rooms after with his grandmother, that's just, these are things that you couldn't have imagined a Jordan De Goey being capable of. So I'm sure he was capable of loving his grandma 12 months ago, but not, as a player, as a person, he's grown so much. And him, Braz, all those players that plays in 2018, they came into this game with a little sting from that, and they've clearly grown from it. And gee, I'm glad we're on the right end of it for them this time.
Certainly.
Thank you, Jacko. Pie that caught my eye, Jack Crisp, boys. I just cannot sing his praises enough. I know people will remember this finals campaign for the likes of Geordie De Goey because they have such X factor. But Jack Crisp, he did go through the middle. He played off the halfback. He always keeps his feet and he just wins the ball back. And I think he kicked a goal basically from the same spot as the prelim on outside 50. That is a really, really, really difficult kick. I know there's a bit of a breeze going that way, but Mr. Consistent, Mr. Dependable, and to get the flag against your old foe and as a set of steak knives, boys, it's just another story to come out of this absolutely incredible campaign. And for me, Crispy's another one of those blokes who, again, he doesn't get all the accolades and all the attention, but he just keeps on keeping on. And I think it's so important to have guys like that who don't get too down when we lose and don't get too up when we win. They just keep ticking. So Jack Crisp, I'm so stoked that his third baby didn't arrive, unlike Fly's, on the morning of the grand final. But gee whiz, what an absolute figure of this club. And I'll remember that performance for a long, long time.
He was my norm behind Bobby.
Yeah.
Honestly, it could have went to Crispy, but Bobby's, you can't go past him.
Not high touches, but just reliable as ever. And to do it in a big game like that, gee whiz, he was amazing.
He's had a huge final series as well. And like you said, he doesn't get the high praises from the media types. But when the game is on the line, he's always a bloke that stands up. So he as much as anyone deserves this. So
25-2 with 4 inside 50s, outstanding. It's the man that I said had to stand up if we were to win this grand final last week, Tom Mitchell. What an extraordinary performance he was able to put together. I was worried about the goalie early because Dunkley was certainly putting some time into him, and it meant that Mitchell was going to match up on Lachie Neale, who's just coming off a Brownlow and had him covered in the previous 2 contests that we played against Brisbane. But Mitchell stood up and delivered superbly. His contested possession numbers, his tackle numbers, his clearances numbers. I reckon he could have been 3rd or 4th in that Norm Smith medal voting in the end, just because of how influential he was in the contest, just shoveling it out to the likes of DeGoey and Pendles and Dacos, and they were able to move that ball forward with ease. And I just felt like Tom Mitchell was made for that moment. He had a great grand final in 2016. Was on that big stage before, but we heard during the week leading up to the decider how much he loved being at the club and how much he was enjoying his time there, was playing his best football that he felt like at least. And his actions showed again on the weekend, and he set up some really incredible plays. I couldn't sing his praises high enough either. It's the reason why we recruited him. He was the missing piece, in my opinion, to winning this flag this year compared to where we finished up 12 months ago. And I don't think we do win if he's not in this team, especially with no Adams in there either. So take a bow, Tom Mitchell. You've done us all incredibly proud.
And what an effort as well, Nico. I mean, you go back to the later stages of the home and away season. He was clearly out of form. I remember subbed, was subbed out of the Freo game. Same with the Port Adelaide contest as well. Had a few flat games. So to get himself back up for finals and get himself back to the footy that we'd seen him play in the first half of season 2023, a monumental effort. And yeah, just again highlights what an effort by the recruiting team to literally just put in place the 4 missing puzzles. And I know Dan McStay misses out, heartbroken for him, but we clearly identified that we needed to do more clearance work, and Bobby Hill was perhaps the one that we didn't need because we had our small forwards stock already stocked in terms of McCreary, Ginnivan, Jamie Elliott, the list goes on. But for them to identify those blokes, and you're seeing literally the fruits of that labour in the biggest game of the year, and just unbelievable. And Billy Frampton should be highlighted. A lot of people, we spoke off air at the pub just before about, his stats weren't mesmerising, but when you consider the impact that Harris Andrews could have had and has had on us this year, and how he was able to nullify him for 3 quarters at least, or 2 and a bit quarters, just a remarkable effort.
But you think about, yes, Harris Andrews sort of did get on top in that final term, but he plays like that the whole game and we don't win.
Correct.
It was a great performance from Billy Frampton. And look, don't get me wrong, there were certainly chances he missed.
A couple of
those real good opportunities inside 50. That didn't go his way. Mind you, hasn't actually played in our senior side for, maybe 2 months almost?
Hasn't played a final, Nico.
Never played a
final. So for anyone who's coming after Frampton saying he was below the mark, you try playing a grand final having never played a final and not playing ones for 6 weeks on one of the game's best intercept defenders. Couldn't be happier with the game he played. It wasn't just the game he played, Nico. It was the fact that we went back to switching the angles, getting guys out on the fat side, and look at the mark that Bobby Hill takes as a result of Andrews not being nowhere near the pill. One-on-one contests everywhere, we score.
Let's get to Bobby.
And just quickly on Billy as well. We were sitting there like we got to throw him. We got to throw him.
I
back.
said after I was like, get
and
what
what a courageous coaching
So
move
courageous.
to keep him where he was and continue with the plan that was originally put in place. And even when they got out to that couple goal lead, I think late in the second quarter.
I even thought when Howe went down early in the last quarter,
And
I thought, they've got to put him there.
But that just epitomises the whole concept of team defence. You know, I'll happily sit here and put my hand up saying I thought Frampton should have started in defence because I was worried about their tall timber. But I think Isaac Quaynor and Will Hoskin-Elliott were rotating onto Joe Danaher and Eric Hipwood at times in the second half because we were, having to manage our players. And we still backed our system in and continued to turn the ball over. And guys like Tommy Mitchell continued to give us first access so we could spend more time in our forward half. And even though we almost kicked ourselves out of it, boys, the fact that we continued that supply gave me hope on a hot day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hipwood, no influence on the game. Danaher had his moments, no doubt about it. But
he was very good.
I just felt like it was the right call and a very courageous one, as you said. That's why he's our premiership coach. It's as simple as that, Craig McRae. But
just quickly on Frampton, like I said to you boys, like all these people coming for him, opposition supporters mainly, we don't win this premiership without him. Like it's not even a joke. 4 points the difference, and to take Harris Andrews' impact so much out of the game until sort of the later stages, it literally is the reason we've got this premiership cup.
Yeah, Bobby Hill, boys. What a talent. What a special talent we were able to grasp 12 months ago. I think you said Anzac Day medalist at the start of the year. Well, he's got one a little bit better than that one, and Norm Smith.
Got my headline correctly.
Yeah, you did. On top, finished with 4 goals. Should have been 5 or 6, really. He was able to help Pendles, kicked his one, missed a couple of others, but had 5 tackles as well with his 18 touches. That Norm Smith medal was his at half-time, really. He was never going to lose it. Rose to the occasion. He was just on from the opening bounce. He just knew the right spots, and especially with Frampton's job on Harris, it allowed the likes of Bobby Hill to really put his pace to good use, and he gave Starcevic an absolute bath, which was just as good.
With bubbles in it.
Absolutely.
Well, people are always going to remember it. We will always forever remember the 4 goals he kicked, and I think one of my favourite moments of this game is when he...
You like that one, Lucy?
Still going on.
Second to get it.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Bit slow today.
when he steps around on the right, has the smarts and the class to step back on his left, and now that goal, that for me, Lukey speaks about the De Goey goal being his favourite moment, which is a very good one. But for me, that's what Collingwood grand finals have missed in the past, forever really. Just someone to not only provide the flair, but the class of the finish. And yeah, it was just remarkable. But it was also his work up the ground as well. His pressure was there. The tackle on Starcevic on the far wing. Shout out to Brian Taylor, who didn't think it was a hole in the ball free kick. Just watch the replay.
You idiot.
And he's marking, and he looked like he knew. It was like he'd played the game before, and he just knew where the he needed to run at what time, and he was doing that to absolute perfection. And people like Bobby Hill, they make their name is made on days like today, and you just mentioned it before, Nico. He rose to the occasion like no one we've ever really seen. I mean, we all expect it from the Dusties and the Christian Petrarcas and who won the flag last year? The Isaac Smiths of the competition.
Oh,
These champion players that elevate themselves in the big games because they are champion. Bobby Hill he elevated himself to that status in this game, and really at the crux of it, he is just a small forward role player for us, and that's what he's played his role this year. Yet he was 15 votes in the Norm Smith,
Unanimous.
Far ahead of anyone else in second. So yeah, just a remarkable game from him, and yeah, he should be so proud of himself. And one thing I also want to highlight is it gets. I think Sam Docherty is one of the most inspiring stories in AFL football. But it's forgotten that Bobby Hill has gone through something extremely similar to Sam Docherty, in the fact that he's been through a significant health battle with testicular cancer. Probably not spoken about a lot because he didn't play for a big Melbourne club at the time. So for him to come across to Melbourne, be with his very young family, his partner and his young kid, and to go from playing in front of 12 people at GWS every week to the biggest stage in front of the biggest club in the world, it just words cannot describe the effort that takes and how proud of Bobby Hill we are as supporters.
And it is literally what he was recruited for, but maybe he's just made for the big stage, because I remember round 1 this year when he played in his biggest crowd he's ever played in front of, and he killed it for his first game for the club. And he's had just big games throughout the year in front of big crowds and through the final series. And then, this would be his career best game so far, especially that first half. We with each other, I couldn't believe he just couldn't nail one of those set shots he had to get the 5th goal, because 5 goals in a grand final would have just sounded amazing. 4 goals is pretty good as well, and then just the composure to pass it off to Pendles at the time.
Had us all fooled, didn't he?
He literally had 100,024 plus every single player on the ground,
except for Pendles.
Except for Pendles at that point, and that shows how smart Pendles is. I don't know, just quickly on Pendles, because I've watched that Geordie goal a few times, he keeps saying to all the boys in the middle when they go back to the middle, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. He just kept saying 5 minutes, 5 minutes. It's a little thing like that, but just letting them know there's still 5 minutes to go. I love that from Pendles. And he also, I think it was Phil Davis speaking on one of the radio stations today, and I think it was Lipinski gets the ball at one point, and I think he might have mentioned it, but Pendles is behind him and says, kick left. And Lipinski doesn't even look. He just kicks left. And he just trusts Pendles. And then there was a target out there. And he's like, that's what Pendles does.
Little things.
He's out there being the general, calling things.
He's
just
a coach.
Kick there, pass there, do this. And he'll run the game from that midfield sort of centre, half-back, defensive midfielder position. And it was never better displayed than on Saturday. Just little calls throughout the game. And then what he did when he had the footy as well.
Matty Lloyd did highlight on the Sunday footy show that he spent a bit of time with him down at Haileybury, I think, with the schoolboy footy team. And he said his ability to explain complex footy scenarios in such a simple and effective way is like something he's never seen before. So to have that on field in a grand final, like Luke, you just mentioned, just kick left, mate. Just do that. And for them to back that, and that could be perhaps one of the most intrinsic kicks of the game, but you wouldn't know because he has this ability just to simplify it. And no doubt Pendles has got another career in waiting for him.
Wait till he becomes
wait till he's the coach. God.
We'll get 5 flags with Craig McRae, and then when Pendles is ready, you can just switch over, and it'll be the greatest succession plan in history. We won't have to worry about it. I found this interesting. We finished with 7 individual goal kickers. Only 2 of them were permanent forwards in the end. So Bobby Hill had his 4, and the other one was Brody Mychek. But our goals came from Crisp and DeGoey, he kicked 2 each. Nick Dacos, of course, the opener. Pendles and Sidebottom. So we talk about sharing the load. I know some of our forwards didn't have the day they would have liked. Jamie Elliott missed a few opportunities, as did Bo McCreary, Jack Ginnivan and the like. But it just shows that if they're not having their day, we've got others that can stand up.
Well, it's Collingwood footy in 2023, isn't it? When we've put big scores on the board and when it's looked the best, there's been an even spread of goal kickers, and a lot of them haven't come from the forward line, maybe 1 or 2, but certainly the midfield gets involved, Marcus.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, Nick, I feel very fortunate to say that without it being a loss, honestly, like to kick 12 goals, 18 in a grand final and have half of your forward line miss gettables, to be honest with you. I know grand final day brings extra loads of pressure, but I still think that those guys you just rattled off, really, if they shouldn't have buried their only opportunity, might have been hoping to kick 1 goal 1 instead of 0 goals 2. So, yes, wonderful that we were able to get some supply from the midfielders and isolate Bobby Hill, who did an amazing job, but another few minutes in that game, and who knows, honestly, we could be having the worst pot of the year instead of the best. So I like to be pragmatic at the best of times, Nico, but all we can do is soak it up and enjoy it, and thank God we didn't kick ourselves out of it.
Oh, it was getting very, very nerve-wracking in that third term. Luke and I were just going.
It was so tense.
I'm like, we're about to blow a flag because we're kicking behind all day. It was, that third quarter, it was probably as tough a quarter to watch because we dominated. I thought we dominated most of the second half, and especially that third quarter, we could have put on a pile of goals and really shut Brisbane out of the game. Obviously, as Collingwood supporters, we know it's never over till it's over, but we could have put ourselves in a position where we really could have just enjoyed that last quarter and just soaked it up.
But no.
But I think
Collingwood
you
way.
said it before at the pub, like, we got the best of both worlds as being Collingwood supporters. We got the heartache and the terror of what could have been in terms of missing every shot, and we were so close to the Collingwood choke, the collie wobbles coming into full effect, but we got the other side of it and what we've known for the last couple of years with Craig McRae, knowing and trusting the system that's in place, and knowing, like we said it last week, about shutting the game down at the point in time when we got to that 10-point lead. I know we still conceded another goal, but you could see what was being put into place around the ground, and inside that congestion to just shut it down and hold it in, and knowing that there was still time on the clock, but we just needed to kill seconds, and then get to that end point. So, yeah, it was... We got both sides of the story, and at the end of the day, we got to enjoy one of the greatest premiership wins, and it's been lauded as one of the greatest grand finals of all time. And I don't think that's a stretch. I know recency bias does come into play, but sitting there and watching it, I thought that was one of the best footy games I've ever watched.
Absolutely. What do we think of Lipinski's sub role? I think it was one of his best games of the year, in my opinion. With 58% time on field, he finished with 16 touches. He also had 2 marks, 5 tackles and 3 clearances, which is a pretty strong effort. Obviously, Murph going down did hurt a little bit in that first term, but I think Lipper played his role brilliantly.
Well, Murph had perhaps the best start of anyone, I thought, in the people that were on the ground. He just, he was marking everything that came his way, and then his disposal was as effective as it has been all year. So to lose him early was massive. And for Lipper to come on, when you say 50%, 58%, Nico, does that mean 58% from the time he come on the ground, or does that mean 58% over the 4 quarters?
That would be
entirely.
Well, according to this stat, I'll just tell you. This is great padding here. Percentage of game played, I should say. Sorry,
okay, so
it wasn't even his full time on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, he was. Yeah. Absolutely immense. And yeah, I said last week I was bullish on him. Glad we didn't panic and just completely drop him out of the side completely, because I thought there was a role for him to play. Didn't think it'd be a role that he was going to fill in for coming on for Nathan Murphy. But yeah, he was exceptional. And I thought compared to his other 2 finals where there was times where maybe panicked a little bit under the pressure, but still was, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an R word. It'll come to me. It was resilient. That's the one. That's the one. He was resilient in the nature that he still followed up and tackled and whatnot. But I thought he was just cool, calm, and collected on the day. And yeah, really, really happy for him that he's been able to come to a club this year from the Bulldogs after not getting any game time, and come to the Pies and for him to play. I was actually sat just across from Aaron Norton, who's whispers of coming to Collingwood next year, and his old man's a mad Collingwood supporter, and they were visibly stoked for him. So yeah, that was
Is that a whisper? Game. Is it?
Yeah.
Well, it was put up as a Tom Brown fake account. I think that he requested a trade to Collingwood, but then so I think it got in a lot of people's heads that he was, but it was actually a fake post. But yeah, I mean, anyone who's looking for a way out of another club right now would probably be looking at Collingwood.
Well, I'm glad we're not getting Todd Goldstein just quietly. He's just confirmed he wants to go to Essendon, so thank goodness.
That was always happening as coach.
His old man, right. I just got to say, his old man has got. You think Aaron Norton's got one of the best mullets ever? The old man is rocking one of the great 80s style.
Leading from the front, or from the back?
Yeah, business at the front, all party at the back until, mid shoulder blades, I'm talking. It was unbelievable.
The other player I do want to highlight before we move on was Jeremy Howe, who you could argue was definitely our best defender for the afternoon. 4th highest disposal getter on the ground with 24 touches. 8 rebound 50s to go along with his 9 marks as well. He was outstanding. His ball use out of defensive 50 was exactly what we needed, especially during the tense moments. Someone else that was there in 2018 that had felt all the pain was definitely able to produce an outstanding game and help his side get the job done.
Another Collingwood supporter growing up as well, alongside Hoskins. So you love those stories, knowing Darcy Moore and the Dacos boys too. But Jezza Howe hit the kick to Bobby Hill for his all-time specky. That was brilliant. Yeah. He also hit a kick into the middle that resulted in a turnover late in the game, and my heart was in my mouth at that point in time because I just thought, gee whiz, this is the break that Brizzy need, but we just, with our team defence, managed to cover space so unbelievably well. And to do that without a guy like Nathan Murphy, who's kind of that backstop coming off of his man to make really good intercept possessions. I thought Q really stood up and filled that role, as did Leggy later in the game. So I'm just absolutely thrilled for Howie, and I'm sure despite the broken ribs today, boys, they're going down very nicely.
Well, to continue on after that and finish the game, like we thought he's done, and then all of a sudden he was back up running around like normal. Oh, he must be all right, and then to find out he's got
adrenaline, amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's another guy that deserved this as much as anyone else out there. He's been through quite a bit, and yeah, loves the club, is passionate, he's a supporter as a young boy. So yeah, super stoked for him, and he's in that echelon of guys that we just needed in terms of experience out in the field on grand final day. They had been through it a bit, and we just needed their experience out there. And another, like Tom Mitchell as well, like guys that have been like supporters, opposition have said like, are they part of our best 22, best 23 look? And I think I read a few comments about Tom Mitchell today, like he could have easily been dropped through that period of the season where he got subbed a few times, but Collingwood's not looking at, the next few weeks. They're looking at grand final day, and they know how important he was going to be on grand final day. So stick it out, because he's going to be ever so important on the day that matters the most, and that is what Collingwood have looked to all year. And Jeremy Howe's another one that you go, he is going to be so important on the biggest day of the year. So.
Speaking of Titch, did you see that he rocked up to Mad Monday today in his Hawks gear? Goal.
No. He's one I actually did miss, but I think Oleg takes the cake rocking day one Carlton gear. What could have been. We'll never know, he says. We'll never know.
Suffer.
So stick it up your ass, Carlton.
Exactly. All of them. No, it's music to my ears. Yeah, Ginnivan also. But we'll get to off-field
Straight from the valley.
in just a second. Were there any other players you wanted to highlight or moments from the game that you wanted to take away from Saturday in terms of on-field?
Yeah, just take a moment, I suppose.
Coxie and Cameron, they're jewels
Cox.
in the ruck.
Yeah,
I thought McInerney had no influence on the game, in my opinion.
I thought Coxie had some big moments in the ruck, particularly at centre bounce. None more so than that one that led to the Goey goal, but yeah, I thought around the ground as well took some big marks at important times. He would have loved to have kicked that set shot he had.
We would have.
When I watched the replay, we would have. When I watched the replay, like he's going to go straight to, I can't remember who it was. Dunkley, I think, on the mark. But then Dunkley got into him because he missed. But he would have loved to have nailed that. But I thought Coxie did play a very important role around the ground, and Darcy Cameron did as well. But for Darcy Cameron, I think he gets best off the field medal for his antics at the premiership party.
Having a good fun, good
Horses,
laugh,
he got up on stage and was having the time of his life. And I think he seen him in the crowd of people on someone's shoulders. His premiership medal. It's those are the scenes as supporters that just make us so happy that these boys go through it all and just can enjoy it, at least for one. Hopefully they enjoy it for a little while, but at least that night they get to enjoy it for all the hard work they put in.
Exactly right. Yeah. Anyone else to add?
Yeah, just a couple that stick out for me. Nico, obviously, Coxie's the main one. What an incredible story. His dad, Phil, was actually walking up the races. We were walking down, and there was a bit of an embrace there, which was pretty cool. And the journey he's been on as a player and as a person over the past sort of 10 years or so at least, just remarkable. He's forever going to be the first American to win a premiership. He's going to be a Collingwood premiership player. And
Who would have thought?
You really saw that on the day. I mean, the players had gone off with the cup and were going into the rooms, and Mason was just well and truly embedded on the back of a ute, and a couple of people were trying to sort of get him off to go back in the rooms, and he sort of not told him to off, but he told him just like, I'm just going to enjoy this moment. And
so was that the parade or the?
No, that was the after the game.
Yeah, he took his time, didn't he?
Took really.
It was a really nice shot of him.
Yeah.
In tears, sitting just by himself with the American flag around him. So he's been like I remember, I'll never get the day I was there with my old man on Anzac Day, watching him watch this lanky 7-foot bloke go about his work, and to think, almost, that was 2016, so almost 8 years later, he's
he's a Collingwood premiership player. Really proud of him, and having him on the pod earlier on this year was such a great moment for us, and he's doing great work with his own podcast, and just a really smart human being, really gracious human being, really good example to follow, and couldn't be more happy for him. And the other one as well was Oleg Markov, won a VFL premiership with Craig McRae in 2017, I believe it was, and was almost not on an AFL list this year, and got his chance as a sub in round 4 against the Lions and hadn't missed a game all year. And Oleg Markov's now a premiership player and definitely best costume on Mad Monday. That is the best. I've been looking for an excuse to try and stick it up Carlton the last 3 days, and there is no better one to do it than that.
And just quickly on Oleg, my dad's been doing some work in the security at the MCG this year, and he said every time he's come across Oleg, he's always been able to shake his hand and have a quick few words with Oleg, and that happened again on Saturday. They were able to shake hands, say congratulations and thank you so much. And he says honestly he's one of the best guys out of all the footy clubs, in terms of just giving up a little bit of his time and saying thanks for everything. And I know that's been sort of projected into the media a little bit, but he's generally, I think, one of the best guys and will give his time for anyone. So
if he wants to come on the pod,
exactly right.
Oh, we'll have him.
And if you know Oleg Markov, then
or any premiership player for that matter,
we've released
anyone
a shirt
at all.
in his honour.
And I was just saying to Jack before, I out in the town Saturday night celebrating the premiership, and I had a few people say, "Is that Oleg Markov?"
Wow.
Does
keep dreaming.
He does some amazing work. I don't know if you boys are. He does amazing work with a mentoring program. The name escapes me off the top of my head, but him and some other AFL players are heavily involved with this thing that's about, getting involved with some people that are perhaps devoid of mentors in their life, and, trying to coach them through, all the challenges that life can bring. And, he's just a really exceptional human being, and, so happy for him that he's been able to experience, getting back on an AFL list and playing AFL footy again. And then, you think of experiencing the ultimate success of an AFL grand final. Just remarkable.
How were our celebrations afterwards, boys? I know we all had some good nights.
These boys need to take it away on this segment, I reckon.
They'd lead the way. I mean, we didn't end up getting there, but I know that you boys hosted a few at Victoria Park at about 4 in the morning. How was that one?
Yeah, let's just say I saw the sunrise at the spiritual home of Collingwood, and a big shout out to Magpie Mark, 92 on Instagram, with the long hair and waving the flag.
You'll know who he is. Reeled
off more Collingwood ex-players than you know, Nico. But no, it was very good to celebrate deep into the evening and lap it up. I actually wanted to get back to where it all started. It got to catch a few games at Vic Park as a youngster, and obviously the MCG and the AIA Centre is where it all happens now. But to do this podcast in Collingwood and to be at Vic Park, it feels right, and there's a part of my soul that's certainly feeling very happy right now for that.
How'd you go with that, Luke?
Yeah, no, it was. I didn't exactly catch the sunrise with Marcus. I pulled the pin just a little earlier, but I did get there with a few of the real Collingwood supporters,
some motley crew,
and just shared a few stories. And it was really nice. And obviously, had some great celebrations. Tried to catch up with everyone here. Me and Nico obviously were with each other for the game and a few celebrations at the AIA Centre. Kind of missed you, Jack. Unfortunately, couldn't get into a few select locations around Richmond, but no, honestly, it was one of the best. I had a good Friday night as well, but Saturday as well. One of the best weekends of my life. Just everywhere you went, if you were wearing Collingwood gear, you were a celebrity. So really enjoyed that. And just speaking on Victoria Park, before we come and do this podcast, I went and sat there for 10 minutes and just, had a few little tearies to myself, like thinking about all the memories for myself as a Collingwood supporter. So, trying to really soak it all in.
Our AIA Centre was amazing that Saturday night. It was just so raw, and everyone was just overwhelmed with emotion, and then everyone waiting for the players to come across. And fortunately, I was in a good spot where Fly came out with the cup.
That video is all time.
Celebrating with us, just brought the cup out right to the fans and high-fiving us, just those little moments. The players were just only a few hours after putting that flag was just absolutely off the chops, and it was the best thing ever to see and witness. And to have all the throng, as you call them there, at the AIA Centre, just hours after that premiership success. It was a night I'll never forget either, Jack.
Yeah, it was a reasonably subdued night For myself, I think personally I benefited greatly from being at the 2018 grand final. Obviously didn't benefit from the result, but benefited from the experience and the gravity of the emotion that a grand final can bring. But after, I don't know if you guys have seen the Avengers. There's a scene in it where after all the commotion and stuff, there's a scene of them just sitting in a pizza joint, just sitting down and having a pizza.
Post-credit scene.
It was very much the vibe of myself and my partner and one of my best mates, Liam, just sitting and enjoying a pizza in the hotel we were staying at and having a beer just before we decided to go out and get knocked back by the worst bouncer in the world. But yeah, that was just, it was a really nice moment actually to spend spend the day with three really special people in my life and to spend that moment with them. And it was perfect in a way. It was I reckon I could have carried on until probably today if I really wanted to, but just an absolute really valuable experiences with them, and yeah, I'll never forget it.
And I eventually, with my partner, made it my way to Crown at about 2 a.m, and that's when Jack and I were finally able to catch up.
I just found that out. It was really nice that he's actually...
And go through it. Well, it was a slow move there.
There was a lot of, what just happened? I reckon that we said that about 14 times after we saw each other.
Did we, what was our recognition like with fellow Pies fans about this pod? Because I reckon I got stopped about 15 different times.
At the AIA Centre.
Yeah, we were
know we went there together, but then kind of separated
after.
and then come back together. But I reckon in that meantime where we were separated, I got stopped by 5, 6, 7 different people, like Pies Nation, and then you get the conversation going and talking about everything, and then they just all wishing all the best for the pod and how they listen every week. And I was saying to one of my mates that I just can't believe people listen to us. We're just normal blokes, but it's just for a lot of people it means the world to them to chuck in their headphones every week and listen to us. And I know we kind of joked about, we don't know when this pod will come out because we'll be partying until whenever, but it sort of it resonated with me Sunday through the day on Sunday, we got to get this out at normal time on Monday because I want everyone to...
A lot of people were keen, weren't they?
Yeah, a lot of people messaging, wanting it out. So I'm like, let's get this done. I know we're a bit shady in that, but let's get it done and out for everyone. So
no, it was great. And thank you to everyone that stopped us and said g'day. We really do appreciate
Any autographs or...
No, not quite.
We got me and you got a photo.
We got a photo.
We got a photo.
Jacko, go on.
So there's... I've got to mention this. Ben... I hope I'm pronouncing his last name properly. Jankowski, the captain of the wheelchair team at Collingwood. I actually ran into him at half time and we sort of locked eyes with each other and he raced up to me and said, I love your work. I said, mate, I love your work as well. And had a good chat about the game and whatnot. And he asked me for a photo. I sort of said to him, I was like, shouldn't I be asking you for a photo? What's going on here? But no, he was a splendid man. And yeah, I wish I was able to catch up with him again after the game because that was at half time and sort of going through with each other how we thought the second half might pan out and what was going to happen, what we needed to do, what we needed to stop. And yeah, shout out to him if he's listening. That was a really special moment.
Tell you who I did see at Crown after I saw you, Jack. Will Schofield. And I was laughing my head off.
Tell him to get started.
Oh, yeah. So you be lapping this up, mate. And and luckily Geordie held me back because I'm telling you, if I had gotten any closer to me, I would have just absolutely given him
an absolute
mouthful.
wank over the last few weeks. Stick it up his ass.
On the topic of West Coast players, Liam Dugan was sat right near us. And,
yes, I've heard this. Yeah.
Had a nice moment with him. It was we sort of locked eyes with each other as I was walking down the race, and there was all sorts of tears and carry on going on, and sort of locked eyes with each other. And I said to him, I said, this feels a lot better than five years ago. When you were out there, and he said, mate, just lap it up and enjoy it. You could tell. I think everyone that was a mutual supporter of this game really understood what a grand final we just all experienced, and unfortunately there had to be a winner, and luckily it was us, and he was gracious enough, despite being a West Coast premiership player against us 5 years ago. Gracious enough to shake my hand and tell me to really enjoy it.
And Marcus, you stuck around after the full-time siren and got to see the players come back out and got some great shots. The one that you sent to us with Bobby, that's an all-time photo, mate. I hope you're hanging that one right up.
Yeah, I'm sure Lukey can share that with the fans if he so chooses. But shout out to my good friend Lucy. She, for some reason, said, well after the game had finished, an hour and a half or something, we're in the MCC having a couple of post-match beverages, and she said, let's just go out and just take it in, just smell the air sort of thing. And we went out
Touch the
and
grass.
just took it all in. All the sort of lights were going off, the cameras had all packed up, and the players started to emerge from the race, Nico, and we saw them coming out, and I was sharing this with the gents before the pod, but the Lord Messiah, Nick Dacos, came out of the race, and I just started giving him the Nicky Dacos chant, whatever I came up with, and then he eyeballed me from 50 metres away and just started throwing his hands in the air in sync with me, and then Oleg come out and we started doing the Oleg chant, and there's only about 50 fans left in the ground at this point in time, and then they all went out into the circle, and more people caught wind of it and came out, but incredible. And then we raced down next to the race and stood there, and Bobby, Steele, Liquor, Ned Kelly all coming up and just sharing their support. It was sacred time, boys, just to see the players out there in the middle, and heart bleeds for Tay and Johnny Noble, because they were just a mess, and rightly so, given particularly what Tay's done for this club for the last 10 years or so. But to see the team in the middle, I shit you not, Das and whoever else was speaking, when they were standing in circle in the middle, they were just clearly dynasty planning and spending a good amount of time soaking in what this meant and what the bond they've created means for the future of this footy club. And I tell you what, boys, there's some exciting years ahead for this podcast and also for Collingwood.
Well, and that's the main thing, is like a lot have been lapping this up as like it's never going to happen again, but this could be a dynasty we're about to witness. We've got the monkey off the back now. Can we go on and enjoy a few more over the next sort of... And I said it last week, we're set up for a decade, whatever happens on Saturday. Well, we've won it now, so we're still set up for that same decade, even with a few of the older senior players who are unfortunately going to go out at some point over the next 1 to 2 years. So, but that core group and the younger guys coming through, there is so much talent there, and obviously with Fly at the helm, anything is possible.
One of our favourite segments on this podcast has always been Ask Pies Nation, and we love how all our fans get involved. I don't think there's been a more highly anticipated segment this time around than what we've got in store, because there were fans all over the world cheering the Pies on Saturday, and their reactions, I've seen already some on social media, have been extraordinary, and we put the question out to our Pies Nation army about just how they've been lapping up the premiership celebration. So, Luke, keen to get a few of these reactions from our fans.
And I said to Jack before, I was going through these before, getting some good ones and actually getting quite emotional reading some of them. So Amy Wilson, who we had on the pod, she was the one from Perth. They'd
already brought the tickets to Melbourne, yes.
So this is a really good one. Flew over from Perth with my sister, dad and brother. As you fellas know, we booked our flights way back in July. We had a good feeling about this year. It was literally a fly-in, fly-out experience, arriving midnight Saturday morning and departing 7 a.m. Sunday with no voice and a sore head. We marched to the G from the AIA Centre, and it was Magpie Heaven. Sat up in level 4, section Q51, but had an epic view, shaded all day and surrounded by Pies fans. Brizzy fans were a section over, and we loved giving it to them all day. Felt super calm the entire game and all week, really. I just had such a good feeling about this year. Headed down to level 1 after the game for the lap and had a madman Bruzzy celebrate right in front of us. So special for me, as he's been my favourite player for years. Also had Flying More hoist the cup right in front of us. Just the stuff that dreams are made of. Made it to the AIA Centre that night to see the boys celebrate off the balcony. Capped the night off with a few bevs and headed back for a cat nap of 3 hours before heading to the airport. An absolute joy and privilege to be there, and literally can't stop smiling. Absolutely love you boys.
That's the best 24 hours you could possibly have all up, I reckon.
Yeah. Paula Louise watched the game at the G with my mum and sister. Mum and I have been to 5 losing grand finals when that siren went. Tears of joy streamed down my face. I couldn't believe it and still can't believe it. What a way to end the season.
I told you, finally being able to win a close one.
And here I am sitting here after only being to 1 losing grand final. There's Collingwood supporters out there, as you just said, Lukey, 5 losing grand finals before they've got to see a winning one. Just like, these are the stories that you get so emotional about. Is the stories that are so un-Collingwood like. And for us to, this is our first grand final win in September since 1958. Like, what a vindicating time to be a Collingwood supporter. And yeah, it's monkey off the back stuff for sure.
April Taralo, unbelievable. The near heat stroke in the AFL members was worth it. We were very lucky.
We were very lucky. Got shade the whole way
that
through.
The whole sun, but it was still a nice day for us. My dad and I, just in utter disbelief at the siren. Everyone was cheering and embracing around us, and I think we just stood still with tears streaming. Spent the rest of the night just soaking it all in. Pubs were packed, so enjoyed the Collingwood chant in Liquorland, and ran into Phil Cox filming the chaos on his phone down Swan Street. My grade 3 and 4 class will be watching the last quarter MP tomorrow, whether they like it or not. Flag pies.
Jeez.
That actually just triggered a memory for me. I went into Liquorland on Smith Street after the game, walking from the G and bought the most expensive bottle of champagne they had in the fridge, and the what you call it, the checkout chick, if you will, said that'll be the price of the bottle and flybys, and I just came straight through for me, and I said no, just flag pies, thanks. She had no idea what I was talking about, and with a confused grin, I kept walking.
Oh, that
Did
is
you
gold.
scan your flybys?
Just a flag pies.
Swan Street was absolutely nuts, by the way.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I was able to capture that. Oh, that
See,
was
anyone
going
see
off.
the van with the
Yes.
So those boys were set up well. They came. They were at the front, Lukey, when I was lining up for the pub that you were in, and they had a van full of blokes. The only sober bloke was the one driving, and they had a keg on the back with tap beer, and they come up. They stopped all along Swan Street and got out. They were singing Mr. Brightside, which is a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, it was.
Considering Jack Reel and all that, but no, we all got around it. That was really cool. I know they were on the news and stuff carrying on. That was pretty cool. Decked out, black and white stripes. It was awesome.
I seen the footage of it, but that's awesome that they were just out there. Tam 459 flew in from Brizzy last week on flights booked 2 months ago. Watched our AIA, and this is Tam, who I sent her one of my live site tickets that I had spare, so she says thanks, Luke. And I think I spoke to you boys about how she booked the flights, missed out on the grand final tickets, then missed out on the live site tickets. So you've come all this way, and it was great that she was able to get to the AIA Centre. The tears were flowing, so bloody proud of our boys. Have never hugged so many random strangers in my life. Came home with no voice after singing, cheering and celebrating the coming of the 2023 Premiership Cup. Was there to soak it all in again today. This was at the family day on Sunday. First time in all years of supporting this massive club that I've been in Melbourne, not watching on from interstate. Jealous. Unbelievably precious memories that will last a lifetime.
And she can go back to Brisbane and give it to all those Lions supporters for the next 6 months.
And they lost the NRL.
State of
Oh,
mind.
yes.
By
They
2
did.
points.
They choked that one bad, didn't they, the
Yeah,
Broncos?
they were about to celebrate one, and all hell was leashed upon them. So you wouldn't want to be a Brisbane person right now. Megan Falkingham sat level 1, middle of the wing, row M in the hot sun. Went with my dad and wore my late grandpa's Collingwood scarf to have him with us. Dad and I cried on the siren. The day was absolutely magic.
Love that.
Beautiful.
And they're the really beautiful stories that really get to the heartstrings. I'm trying to get this next person's name up. Mitchell Clark spent 3 hours down at Fed Square the morning with a sign, hoping for a last-minute ticket from all the fans passing by. Saw Dukes walking past. I don't know if you had a conversation with this Mitchell, but he did see you. Was not to be, unfortunately. I mean, if I did have a ticket, I wouldn't have given it up. After losing hope, I headed home and lay comfortably on my couch with the air conditioner blasting. Rode every single bump of the game, cheering loud and proud from Bobby's Mercurial day out to Whisper Recycling in the middle of the ground. First time I've ever been in tears at the end of a game. What a day. What a season. What a team. This is why this team means so much to so many. Felt like a real ride-off into the sunset day. Flag pies.
Absolutely. The day, the weather-wise. It was a full house, I reckon, from about 20 minutes before the game actually started. We said, gee, there's already not a seat in the house. It was, superb.
Well, the black and white were already on the field in Kiss, of course, so I thought that was a nice
we
little
rate
moment
Kiss.
for
Do
us.
you think they did all right?
Unbelievable.
Superb.
It was good. But they tip Brisbane, so they can get stuff.
Worth the price of admission.
God.
Kristen 542. I was in Q1, 4 rows from the front. Bloody brilliant. Videoed on the siren, then watched the presentations on the ground. Then went to the AIA for the post-match player presentations. Can never get too much Collingwood.
Nope. And we won't.
She accompanied that with her video, which unfortunately I can't show you guys, but it is on Twitter, retweeted. So, and same with Ash, Ashley Kate from the G in M34, met up with friends before the game and then went out with them after to celebrate. And she's got some nice photos accompanying that as well. Samantha Brand, M11 row H was bloody insane. The heart rate definitely got a workout yesterday. Riot of emotions when the final siren went. I bawled my eyes out. What a spectacular day. Hit the city for some drinks with my brother after it.
Lots of tears, wasn't there?
And this one's really nice. Keo Moomin missed tickets in the ballot, went to the ARA Life Centre, had a fantastic day with my daughter, and it was a really nice photo of him and his daughter, and they were just inconsolable with each other. So, Schmick 23 waited in line with brothers at the corner hotel from 8 a.m. to get a decent table on the rooftop. Massive day, absolutely knackered soon after. Back home in bed by 9 p.m. 8 a.m.
Gee, yeah.
Big day.
Well, I was up from about 6 in the morning. I had the
6.
grand final breakfast, which wasn't too bad, but all the experts were tipping
Albro.
Brisbane as per usual. I think, and then all the coaches. So Hardwick, Scott, and Clarkson all said Brisbane would win. So I'm like, all right, I'll just keep a note of that in my back pocket so they can all get stuffed as well.
Leah Bassett, front row of level 2 MCC members with my brother, whom I have attended every game with. We sobbed like babies on the siren and just shook our heads in awe. Unbelievable moments, hugging strangers and soaking it all in with the brethren. The best weekend of my life.
How many strangers do you reckon we were going around at the
Well, I had a whole family. I don't know if you've seen it. My mum, dad, and the daughter, like they were my family. We're hugging, like singing the song. We didn't even celebrate with them the whole game, and all of a sudden we're hugging like I'm part of their family. So
Not to take anything away from the past premiers who have gone through droughts, like, I think Richmond comes to mind, and when they broke their drought in 2017, people were saying, even speaking to the publicans before, he's like, couldn't believe the carry-on. Last time you guys won was only 10 years ago. But this means so much to so many Collingwood supporters because of the way we went about it. It's our first flag in September since, as I said, 1958. It was so un-Collingwood-like, and the way we all lived that, I think the fact that it was so un-Collingwood-like, the result, it was just so unbelievable that it happened. It felt like we hadn't won one since 1958, and we'd got one done just like the past 13 premiers have since we last won one. So yeah, it was that was the feeling I had, and it wasn't like it was euphoria, obviously, but the tears, and I think more come from relief that we are finally that team in the last day of September, and last Saturday of September, and how good.
And it probably sounds really biased, but as being Collingwood, I just feel like that Collingwood supporters live and breathe this sport and this club more than any other club in the AFL.
I can hear you chant in the background right now.
For real, like the teams, it doesn't mean as much to other team supporters. They will go to games throughout the year, but for us, I can only speak from experiences, but God, some of the stories you hear about what people have been through going to every single game for a million of years and riding every single bump of the way and just continuing to show up. And through the dark times, we've still always had people show up. We've never dropped off. And then when it's good again, everyone is back up and about. And I just feel like no much more to any other club, it means so much to Collingwood people.
Well, to put into comparison, our members have gone from 100 and just over 100,000 to 103,000 or whatever it was this year. Richmond's went from 60,000 to 100,000. So if that doesn't say, and we've averaged 80,000 members for the past.
We're going to have 120 plus next year.
For the past 10 years. So there's always going to be the bandwagons that jump on with success. That happens with any sporting team. But Collingwood supporters, we've been that team that has competed every single year without having a year like we've had this year and achieving the ultimate goal. So it feels like we had, in a way, although we have been competing, we always talk about the old argument with Carlton Essendon supporters was, you'd rather be in our position competing for flags than, down in the doldrums, and they say, well, how many flags have you won? And we say, well,
we don't have to worry about that
now.
anymore.
Now we're on the same peg, and that's for me, that's like no one can give a shit anymore. Like no one can say, oh, but you can't get it done on grand final day. We've got this moment in time for the rest of our lives, and
if anyone wants any motivation for next year, we win another flag next year, we go
17,
top of the table in the premiership count. So.
17. Any more to wrap up?
Kristen Valentine, watched from Darwin with some workmates, is here for work. Sad I couldn't be at the G of my dad and brother, but so happy I was able to surprise my bestie for her 40th with a ticket. So she saw her first GF and a Pies flag. A roller coaster of emotion. As a result, tears, screaming, indigestion from the close game, and eventually elation. It hasn't really sunk in yet, so proud of our boys and what they have achieved. Daniel Verwimp at home in Ipswich, Queensland, with the family on the big screen watching the sadness of 02 and 03 and 18 washes away by winning a close grand final. Woohoo, next job, back-to-back. Let's build a dynasty with McRae.
You posted it earlier today, Lukey, but hearing Buck's reaction to this grand final win on Saturday was emotional in its own right, because this is a man that has been through it as a player and a coach and wasn't able to get one in his own right. And was it Pebs that went up to him at the end and said, "This is one back for 2003 and 2." It was I could only imagine what that man would have been feeling, because as much as you're rapt to see your side win another flag, but yeah, it just didn't work out for him, and to see it go all the way, yeah, superb.
You said he was sobbing on the siren. He would have had so many emotions going through him.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
it was, and that's why I said in that post, like, this is his flag as much as anyone else's. Yeah. He built this team for years, and unfortunately he didn't get to enjoy it in 2018, but this team isn't what it is without him over those years.
Yeah.
Take out his coaching career as well, just on his playing career and what he had to, his record in that, and the grand final heartbreaks that came with that, the finals heartbreaks that came with that. I think we're all still sitting here having the exact same conversation, even if he had never coached Collingwood. So
but Pendles isn't Pendles without Bucks.
Yeah, correct.
Like those guys that were played with him and then were able to be under his tutelage as coach aren't the same players they are without Bucks. So, like, I hope he enjoys this, and I hope he doesn't feel like he's missed out, because this is for him as much as anyone.
I think the club did a really, really good job. Just seeing some photos of the after party, Darcy Cameron getting up there and seeing horses with Dale Braithwaite. There's some really nice photos of Bucks with some players that he had coached, and ex 2010 players in amongst it, 1990, and the players from the period of 1990 to 2010, all Collingwood legends, and still celebrating it just like any other club would. It was amazing,
and that's what it felt like. They got to enjoy it like they were a part of it, and that's what the club has done really well over the last few years. Just bring everyone back in, and so many of these guys missed out throughout their career, and it's like Peter Moore passing on the Premiership Cup.
Yeah, what a moment.
To his son. Peter Moore's lost 5 grand finals or whatever it is as a player, and he never got to enjoy the ultimate success. But for me, it felt like this was for him. Like, he got to enjoy this like he was
Vindication.
out there.
Just on that, Darcy Moore's speech at the end and thanking all those past players, that really stuck with me. And just showing, I mean, we know what he's capable of in a public speaking forum, but for me, that was the best speech he's ever produced, and just making sure every single person from the boot stutter to his premiership teammates were recognised in just as equal way.
Well, you come back to when Fly started, and I remember footage that the club released pretty much from his first day, and they went to Vic Park, sat in the stands, and Tony Shaw, I think, produced an old Collingwood jumper of his, and talked about what it meant to represent the black and white stripes, and the fact that Darcy Moore, 2 seasons later, remembers to honour the jumper. And I think the 1953 premiership player, Thorell Merritt, who was at training...
The last 2-time premiership
He was
player
at the captain's run last week, and then it was his 90th birthday on Saturday. So there was just so much symmetry and poetry present for Collingwood. But I think honouring the history of the club was such an integral part of the boys continuing to push forward in a way that they felt unified, and as if they were representing the Paul Curious, the Scott Burns, the Nathan Buckleys, who had paved the way, really, in order for the club to build so much success throughout the Eddie Maguire era off the field, and with those 02-03 grand final appearances and several finals experiences throughout the noughties. So this is bigger than just Fly's Pies, I think, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
But the fact that Fly honoured that history before him is an integral pillar of the culture that he's built.
Yep. And I'll finish with Kathy Kenny. Couldn't watch, couldn't relax. Kids texting me all day, filling me in on the score. When my son finally texted me, I switched to the footy. I have witnessed many losses in my 7 years, and I felt I'd jinxed them if I'd watched. I haven't stopped watching since. So excited and so happy.
Yeah, that replay is going to be on for years and years and years to come, hopefully. But great.
You mentioned just before, Nico, shout out to Nilo, the boot starter.
He was actually right in front of us, and they were throwing the water at each other. Like, it meant a lot to them as well.
He's been at the club for as long as I can remember going to the MCG and watching it. It was like a rite of passage. You rock up to the, as Marcus probably knows, you rock up to the MCC, and just before, as the players are running out, all the staff walk past, and every time Nilo was there walking past, playing his role for the club. And I know he's a mad supporter. And I think he even might have had a really good prediction. I think he wrote down a bit of paper a year or so ago about, Collingwood would beat Brisbane in a...
So in July, Collingwood would have beat Brisbane by 4 points.
Was that him that wrote that?
That was him.
And I remember,
see that.
I think I saw... I could be wrong here. They might have caught up before him, but I think I saw the moment that... Pete, Nick, and Josh Dacos all sort of congregated around him, and to see how much that meant for Nilo, who's obviously worked at the club for free for a long time, and as a supporter to be so close, really happy for people. There's stories like that everywhere, and
Absolutely.
Just one more, Braden Maynard. We'll run Melbourne for about a month, and then we'll get back to work.
Yeah, that's fine. No problems with any fan here if they want to do that. That's awesome. Well, that was Us Pies Nation, and thank you for everyone that gets involved, not just in today's segment, but every single post that we do about it. So thank you all so much, and be sure to continue to get involved as well. We've got some great merch coming out as well, in terms of what's to come with the grand finals. There's been a couple that's released today. It really helps support the pod. With this studio, with everything that we do. So if you want to keep going on with the celebrations, be sure to get involved, buy some merch, even if it's some of the other ones we've done throughout the year. Leggy, Sidey, Crispy, whoever it is, Gimme More is a premiership, Gimme More now. So don't worry, there's some great designs coming up.
And if you have any suggestions,
yes, let us
send them
know.
through.
We'd love
We're
to
happy
hear
to
it.
get whatever we can done.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Is there anything else we need to go through, or are we just about ready to wrap things up here?
Yeah, just wanted to spend a little moment speaking to Tay, Johnny Nobes, and obviously it's and Dan McStay, the heartbreak of this playing group for this season. There's always going to be those stories, but Tay sat in this very studio not that long ago, thanks to contacts through Jacko, and just wanted to express how much he has meant to this fan base for the better part of a decade, as I was saying before. As vice captain, and just seeing the tears streaming down his face, obviously overwhelmed and incredibly mixed emotions after the final siren, but he's just so bloody important to the fabric of the club and the reason that we got to get as deep into the final series as we did. Obviously, Tommy Mitchell coming into the side was able to probably provide us with something, with Tay not being there, but just the off-field stuff that we all know that he does through the media, and the way that he even gave up his time to come and speak to a few knuckleheads about the Pies just speaks everything about the bloke. And I just really, really hope we can go back to back for someone like Taylor Adams, because he deserves it more than anyone at the club.
Absolutely, Lukey.
yeah, no, 100%. It was kind of hit you like a ton of bricks, like to see the images of Tay. And I spoke to someone, Johnny Noble. He was, I don't know if there were any images captured of him, but he was absolutely distraught out in the ground as well. And I don't know if McStay was ever, I don't think I heard much about McStay, but particularly Nobes and Tay, like those two really deserve to be out there. And it was pretty heartbreaking to come to realisation, like they don't get to quite enjoy it as much as the others. And even if you bring premiership medals back for everyone, deep in themselves they know it's not the same. So and that's the thing that pro spurs us on into the coming years. Like do it for them.
Year,
like
100%.
You got those boys who haven't got one, and we can get it done for them again, and that'll mean the world to them. So and it gives them a bit of motivation to keep going. Like we can still go on next year and get it done. So
100%.
shattered for him, particularly Tay. It is heartbreaking, and like you said, we had him in here in the studio, and we know how much it means to him. And he's been with Collingwood for a long time now, been through a lot of lows. So we hope he gets his success in the future.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, it's been a fun hour, boys, hasn't it? just reminiscing.
Hour and a half, I reckon.
Hour and a half, that's fine. It can be 4 hours for all I care.
Tell Derek that.
Derek might care.
Well, you know what? As a Saints fan, I don't know. He might be, maybe not. He's not too happy about 2010 still, so he's going to have to put up with us. Actually, I should mention very quickly, we do have another little segment just to wrap up very briefly. We did a different Guess the Crowd this year, didn't we? Or this week, I should say, because we figured it was going to be sold out. We knew everyone was going to get involved, so we combined it a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah, Guess the Crowd into Predict the Margin into the Norm Smith. Now, I thought we'd get one that would get all three. Now, we didn't get anyone. They got all three. A lot of people actually were wrong with the crowd. Not many actually had. I was pretty sure I reckon there was more than that, but for legal reasons, I don't think they can go above announcing that as the capacity. So 100,024. Now we had Leo the Master. He got the crowd and the margin, not the Norm Smith, but he was the only one who got 2 out of the 3. So we've got him, and we've had him on before, but we can have a quick chat with him about how his grand final day went and how the celebrations, I guess, for him went. So it'd be great to have a little chat with him and see how that went.
Fortunately for Leo, he gets to be on for the great premiership pod, so let's have a listen and hopefully we can have a chat.
Told him 6:30. We're a bit late, but that is why we got him.
Hello again, gents.
Leo, great to have you on, mate. You must be wrapped. You're on the grand final, the premiership pod. What a great last few days it's been. I'm sure you're just as thrilled as we are here in the studio.
Oh, absolutely. Second flag in my lifetime, which is more than can be said for a lot of footy fans. So I'm feeling very lucky, very happy, very content. It's been a wonderful 48, 72 hours.
What was your experience like on Saturday? Were you at the ground watching and run us through those emotions in the last few moments of the game?
Yeah, not at the ground, unfortunately. A general admission member myself, so didn't even bother trying to get tickets. But I was at AIA watching on the field with the rest of the faithful who couldn't quite get in. It was a terrific day. I headed down to watch the girls play at Punt Road beforehand, got the dub, which was nice. Didn't think we were going to, so a nice surprise to start the day. And then, the atmosphere was just terrific. It was probably definitely a one-sided crowd at the G, but it was 100% one-sided down at AIA. So crazy atmosphere. Was there with my dad and my brother, and just riding the wave with everyone was terrific. And those last few minutes were some of the most nervous moments of, I'm sure, all of our lives. But I think as soon as it might have been just after that Mitchell free kick, but the kick down the wing and then 20 seconds left or so, everyone just got up and started celebrating. Didn't feel real till a few hours later.
Leo, mate, thank you so much for coming on. Frequent name that pops up on the Pies Nation podcast over the course of the year, Lukey, with the Guess the Crowd question, Guess the Crowd, and the Ask Pies Nation question. So thank you so much for taking the time to come back on, mate.
My pleasure.
Do you have a favourite moment? There's so many from Saturday, but is there a favourite moment of yours from the 2023 Premiership?
You're right. It's hard to pick. A lot of iconic moments that'll certainly become Collingwood folklore. The Bobby Hill Specky is pretty hard to beat. You don't expect people to be doing that kind of thing on a grand final, but he just had it all figured out on Saturday. So it's hard to beat that, I reckon.
Leo, thanks for coming on. Congratulations. You got the 2 out of the 3 for the ultimate prize.
Who was the Norm Smith tip, out of curiosity?
Yeah, I forget who was your Norm Smith.
Yeah, well, I thought if we're going to win, we're going to need to stop Brisbane's attack, and that's going to be and Charlie Cameron is their most dangerous forward by a mile. So we need someone who can work on Charlie Cameron and just generally be a good interceptor. So I chucked in Isaac Quaino. I thought he was primed for a big one. Wanted to stay away from the more obvious big names because I thought, Dunkley and Neil, pretty good combatants for Dacos and DeGoey. So in the end, got the tip wrong, but I was right to go with a bit of an off-Broadway kind of pick, I reckon.
It was actually, I reckon, only one person tipped Bobby Hill that I'd seen. So
yeah, well, it was, so happy for him. Like, yeah, no one would have expected that, but bloody hell,
Yeah,
totally deserved it.
So Leo, how did you spend your Saturday night, probably early hours into Sunday morning? How how have you celebrated and lapped up the 16th premiership for the Collingwood Football Club?
Well, I'm not the type who would go out and just spend all night partying at pubs and whatnot. So I was more than happy to soak up the atmosphere for a little while after the game, but then just head home with my family and just have a quiet, restful night for the rest of the evening. But yeah, just watching the highlights and just spending a few hours as it cooled down in the city. Just a beautiful, perfect evening with all the fans was just more than you can ask for. And still haven't gone around to watch the full replay yet. I'm dying to. I did watch the KO mini, sort of 18-minute highlight package that night, and bloody hell, what a game. But to be honest, my main takeaway is that BT and James Brayshaw are our nation's two worst commentators. They have nothing left to give.
We have spoken heavily on
that. Well, how about straight after the game when they show pictures of mate? I was lucky to play today. You serious?
I thought, what do you mean lucky to play?
Yeah, and just, I mean, they can't think of anything, They're just
Wowee!
What a goal! Bang! Collingwood in front.
First
Give us
blood.
something.
No, we are heavily with you on that.
Thanks, Leo. Look, great to have you on after being a heavy contributor on the pod for a number of seasons, and we have to ask the age-old guess the crowd question of a quick rundown of your Collingwood history as a fan and also some unique experiences for you over your tenure.
Yeah, well, my own personal experience is really, I think, about as generic as they come, born into it. Collingwood family, so no great stories there. But as far as unique memories, I've struggled with this question, I think about it every week. I rattled off a few off the top of my head last time because let's not forget, Mr. Two-Time over here have been on before.
Yes.
No, what can I say? I've got good strats. But I think recency bias for one that may be forgotten in years to come, but the first Adelaide game this year, even after the drama of 2022 and all the close wins, I think I had never been more sure that we were not going to come back than that game. And the margin wasn't huge, but no one was scoring. And then, a bit of a bittersweet name to bring up right now, but of course Johnny Noble, the clutch hero, was in I think equal disbelief that day as I was on Saturday. So that's a game I'll personally remember for a very long time.
Yeah, great memories. And then after Saturday, so many more that you can add to that catalogue, that is for sure. Leo, thank you for your second appearance as part of our Guess the Crowd competition, but thank you for being part of our official Premiership podcast today. We hope you still lap this Premiership up for years to come, and we appreciate your support as well over the years.
I appreciate it, gents, and love the pod. It's a highlight every week, going and listening to it. So keep up the great work. Well, so happy, We're lucky fans. Yes. Go Pies.
Flag Pies.
That's it. Flag Pies. That is right. Cheers, Leo. Thanks, mate.
Leo. Thanks, Leo.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. That was Leo joining us as part of our Guess the Crowd. Another successful season of the Guess the Crowd competition, I think. And thank you for every single one of those that came on to join us this year. And continue to support us in any way you can. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify. Buy some merch. It helps it helps keep us going in terms of what we've been able to produce this year. So thank you to everybody.
While on the topic, Nico, over the Guess the Crowd, probably a good time to say thank you to you boys for having me on. That's the avenue that I was able to get involved with this, and I've got 3 lifelong mates out of this, and couldn't be more stoked to play a role in this amazing podcast. It's really surreal to have people who you've never met in your life come up to you and tell you that they listen to you every week. But this podcast for me personally has been absolutely huge. Something to zero in on every week, put my time towards, to travel in and really think about. And all 3 of you, I cannot thank you all enough for allowing me to be a part of the Pies Nation journey.
No, you're a big part of it, Jack, and we thank you as well, Marcus and Luke. We've been there from the start. I don't think it's going to get any better than this, to be honest. Maybe if we go back to back next year, but it's been a long 5 years. We've gone some really tough times. Those COVID years were pretty difficult to get through, and yeah, believe me, they're still scarred. We're still scarred.
Somehow you managed to do every single one of them. I don't know how, but I said I don't know who I said it. I've probably said it to a few people that have spoken to me about the podcast, but it felt like a full circle moment to come back. Like we. Obviously, 5 years ago, started it into the 2019 season, coming together off the heartbreak of 2018, thinking, how do we go again? And then we meet each other and get started on this thing, and none of us had experience in this realm before. And then 5 years later, who could have thought we'd still be doing it together? And we've added Jacko to the roster, and he's been an integral part of the last couple of years as well. But a full circle moment in that we've come from the heartbreak of 2018 and now we get to experience the ultimate joy together. And like you said, as lifelong mates, like all we wanted to do on Saturday night was find each other at some point and just hug each other and say we did it. And that was, pretty special on the night to do that. And I couldn't look forward more to doing this podcast today and be able to talk about Saturday with you guys. So,
and we've gone from D-grade celebrities to D-grade celebrities with a flag.
C minus.
I never felt more famous on Saturday night. You know, walking the town of Melbourne.
Yeah, have a look at us. It's been great, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm glad that we can have this moment to savour together, and that we have a platform like we have where we can talk about this and talk about it for so many more decades, I think, to come. So. Thank you, boys. Thank you to everyone listening, everyone that's watched this year. We will have a review episode when we feel ready to do so. So give us a bit of time to enjoy this one. But until then, I've been your host, Nicholas Sacco. You've been listening or watching to the Pies Nation podcast, where the premiership pies are very, very hot and the drinks are cold.
Go Pies.
Go the Pies!